Welcome to Freedom Lovin'. This is Kevin, and this is episode number 7. Today I have upcoming an interview with Mish and Rob from MakingItAnywhere.com. They are a digital nomad couple, so they're basically traveling the world and able to make income as they go. And I really wanted to interview them, not just because they're super cool people, but also just wanted to show that it's not just single solo travelers that are making a go of the digital nomad lifestyle. You can do it as a couple, actually, and there's a few out there. And I know Mish and Rob, and they're very successful. And we talk about a lot of some of the ways that they're able to do this, and the ups and downs, and all kinds of fun stuff. So stay tuned for that. Also, this show is sponsored by 100mustreads.com. Speed up your business knowledge and download summaries of over 120 of the top business books, starting at just $25. Just go to 100mustreads.com. So I was in San Diego the last couple days, and it was mainly for an internet marketing event that I was co-hosting for a group that I run there. And it was an awesome event. Got to see a lot of friends and a lot of people that I haven't seen in a while. And yeah, it was great. It was a great learning experience for me, and also made some good contacts and came up with some great ideas just from conversations that I had with people. So I just think it's always worth it to go to these type of things, and especially if I'm able to host something like this. Our group got a sponsor, so everything was paid for, and people got free drinks, so everybody was happy, and it was just overall a great event. Speaking of ideas, one of my ideas for Freedom Lovin', or for people that are listening to this show, is to teach how to make location-independent income, because we all want to have more freedom in our lives. And so I thought what I'd do is start with teaching how to make affiliate income. So just getting started with affiliate programs and building that into something that will allow you to, hit the road and travel if you want to, or just free up your life in some way. And then I want to actually build information product businesses for people. So if you have an idea, but you're feeling overwhelmed about how to get started with that, and how to build an internet business, what I'm going to do, what I plan to do, is build the actual business. So all of the steps that you would have to do normally, like just building the website, writing the sales copy, doing the email marketing campaign, all of that would be done for you. So what I want to do is I want to get feedback from listeners, from you, the listener, and see what you think about this. Definitely I would be doing this in iterations. So the first step is just the affiliate income. And that's kind of something I'm already working on, thinking about. And so I've got some ideas there. But I'd like to hear your feedback. Is that something that's interesting to you? Would you wanting that and wanting more freedom in your life? And what aspect of that would you like to see? So if you can just go to freedomlovin.com and check out this blog or this podcast entry, and go ahead and put a comment there and let me know what you think about that. That would be awesome. And also, if you do like this podcast, please give us a rating and review on iTunes. It's very easy to do. Just go to freedomlovin.com and go to the latest post, this podcast, and then click on the link that I have in there to iTunes, and you can put in your rating and review, and then I will read your name on the next show and your comment. So if you want to be famous in the freedom loving world, go ahead and do that. So without further ado, here is my interview with Mish and Rob about becoming an anywhereist. Thanks for listening, and have a great week, and go out there and build some freedom today. All right, well, I'm happy to have Mish and Rob on the show today. They are a digital nomad couple from the UK with a blog called MakingItAnywhere.com. Hey guys, welcome to Freedom Lovin'.
Thanks, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
Yeah, so what was your instigation to quit your jobs and just hit the road? Did everyone around you just say they thought you were crazy, or?
Yeah, our families definitely thought we were a bit weird for doing it, but it all kind of came about by accident, really. It happened soon after we got married. We decided that we were just going to go to New York for 6 months, take a career break, and sort of figure out what we wanted to do with the rest of our lives from there, because we both basically knew that we weren't going to stay in our jobs forever. And it was while we were there that we just kind of figured out what sort of business we wanted to do, and realized that we didn't really want to go home. So we just decided that we'd carry on and travel the world.
And that's where Making It Anywhere came from, with the whole New York thing, which I'm very proud of, and no one seems to guess it. So
Yeah,
I thought I had to point that out.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. I think that sums it all up. Yeah, so you decided to go to the U.S. and then did you have any plans after that, or was it just kind of winging it?
No, we were literally about 3-4 months into this 6-month trip when we were just like, we kind of both came to this realization at the same time that we wanted to keep going. And it's probably worth saying that even when we were in New York, we were actually kind of traveling within New York. We stayed in like 9 different apartments in 6 months or something in different parts of the city, because we didn't want to fall into the whole thing where you just get into a routine really quickly. We didn't want to habituate to our surroundings. So we're like, okay, well, let's just keep on moving. And we hadn't really done a lot of traveling before that. That was kind of adventurous for us, just kind of traveling around New York. But then we kind of got into things like, we started reading blogs, we started listening to the Lifestyle Business Podcast with Dan and Ian, and it kind of, oh, there are people who are making a go of this, and it seems like this is a legitimate option. And so we both kind of came to this thing at the same time. It's like, we want to keep going. And at this point, we'd already booked our flights back to the UK and stuff like that. So we went back to the UK for a little bit to regroup, and then we headed off to make the pilgrimage to Thailand, as everyone has to do when they become location independent. And we kind of never looked back, really.
But the weird thing was, when we started sort of looking into it, we had no idea about places like Chiang Mai and stuff like that. I remember like Googling sort of cheap places to live where location independent people live, and we were like, Chiang Mai? What's Chiang Mai?
Yeah.
Why did you say that? We had no idea.
Yeah, I remember looking at Chiang Mai on the map and just thinking, oh my God, that's so far from everything. It's got to be so remote, and I'm sure nobody could possibly speak English there. So,
yeah. Exactly. Even when we showed up, we were just like, before we went, we're like, why does no one like mention the language barrier? When you see people blogging about it, it just never comes up. Because we still kind of had it in our heads that it was a really remote place. And then we like land there, and everyone is like, hey, how you doing? And it's like, oh yeah, I get it now. It's not an issue at all.
Yeah, when I got to Chiang Mai, I checked into this hotel, and right next door there's a Starbucks, and I went over there to do some work, do some email, and there was like a couple of American-looking guys there, and they're chatting about some internet business thing. It's just like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, this whole other world, and like now it's like, oh yeah, Chiang Mai, whatever. But we literally 18 months ago had not heard of the place.
No, we were really scared actually.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. But it's just all about doing it. And, once you kind of make that decision and do it, it's like all those fears just go away.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same with everything, isn't it? It's just, before you do something, you have all this stuff going around in your head, like 90% of which just never even becomes an issue at all. And you do it, and you figure out that the things you should really be scared about you hadn't even considered before. But it's just so much easier when you start doing it.
Yeah, exactly. So now I'm sure this is a question that you guys get all the time, but how are you able to work from the road and make enough to keep traveling the world?
Yeah, that is the question. Always comes up. And it's kind of easy in our case because we've got a service-based business. So we've got the blog Making It Anywhere, which is just kind of, we don't make any money from that. That's just kind of where we have a bit of a community and we talk about what we're doing. But our business is called Mortified Cow. And our motto there is no more boring businesses. We consult with businesses to make them more exciting, to help them find their niche and everything else, and kind of make more money and have more fun as a result. Mm-hmm. So because we're consulting, it meant as soon as we got our first client, we were making money. And it's not going to be the same for everyone, but depending on the kind of sector you go into, 2 clients could be enough to replace your previous income. So it's not like you're building up an e-commerce business or affiliate marketing or something like that, where you start like with making like $1 a day and you scale your income up gradually. So we obviously still needed to have some savings as a buffer, and we did, because it took us time to figure out what our offer was, who we were targeting, how we could reach those ideal clients. But it really wasn't that difficult. So we've now, when it comes to being on the road, we've got filters in place to make sure that we only attract clients who embrace us being on the road. Because the other thing that people say to us is, oh, well, how are your clients with this? Like, do you hide your location from them? Do they always want meetings all the time? And it's like, no, it's like we it helps that we have the blog, because some of our clients actually find us through the blog, so they're obviously on board with the whole travel thing to start with.
Yeah.
But everything else we do, we just kind of have these filters to make sure that we're going to work with the kind of people who don't want meetings, who aren't going to be kind of needy in that sort of way. And there are loads and loads of clients who are like that. It just so happens that we make sure we avoid them. I guess the other thing is that we might transition to a more product-based business in the future, because like this show's all about freedom, and having clients does impinge on your freedom sometimes, because you've got deadlines, you've got scheduled calls and all that kind of thing. It's not like the ultimate freedom, but it's the quickest way of getting started and getting to a decent level of income, and we absolutely love it as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And one of the ideas that I've been thinking of is this, this whole thing of being able to travel and work at the same time. A lot of times people think of it as, well, I don't have a business that's paying me yet, so I need to create that and then go on the road. Whereas there's so many other ways to do it, like you two have done, where you're actually doing services, and you don't need to actually have face-to-face meetings to make that happen. So that's a really cool way to get started and even go for a while doing.
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing to mention though is that we didn't get it spot on straight away.
Oh, yeah.
I think one of the biggest lessons we've learned actually is just to start and get started, because some of the things that we were worried about, or some of the things that we thought would be a problem, it wasn't those issues. We kind of came across issues that we never in a million years would have thought we'd encounter, and we had problems with clients that we didn't ever realize we'd have. And it's just a matter of getting it started and then figuring out from there. We now make sure that we really get the right clients who really appreciate our work and who'll pay us well and who value the time that we put into the work. But at the very beginning, that wasn't always the case, because we just didn't have the right filters in place.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I'm definitely a proponent of just starting and doing it rather than doing all the research and trying to figure out all the ways it's not going to work, because then nothing ever happens. So
exactly, definitely.
Yeah, and then you guys, you each have Kindle books out on the market as well?
Yeah, we do. We've got quite a few Kindle books out. It all kind of started quite strangely. It was when it was the Olympics closing ceremony last year. And it was the Saturday before the closing ceremony, and we just had a bit of time to kill. So we thought, let's write a book of the top facts about the Olympics from this year.
As you do.
And it was just really kind of because we'd heard so much about Kindle publishing and wanted to give it a try. So we spent a day writing a book, just kind of scouring the internet for facts that anyone else could have found, really. Wrote the book, put it up on Amazon for free on the Sunday of the closing ceremony and then the Monday. And then that way we just gave away thousands, which got it up the rankings. And then we managed to sell quite a few more, I think about 1,000 more. And it just really got us in the mood for writing more Kindle books. That particular one was really bad, really embarrassing, and we really don't like it much. We don't tend to talk about it much because it was a really shocking book. It really kind of got us in the mood for writing about stuff that we did enjoy writing about and that we knew about. So yeah, it all kind of went on from there. So I've got 2 books that are related to Judaism because I'm Jewish. So I've got one called Haggadah Good Feeling About This, which is Passover guidance for Jews. Mm-hmm. And then I've got another one called, if I'm not mistaken, That's Bacon, which is kosher guidance for Jews.
I love it.
And Rob's got The Beginner's Guide to Property because he does property stuff. Presentation skills for introverts because he's an introvert. And then we've just got a brand new book out called Be a Digital Nomad, which is basically a curation of sort of our top blog posts, which kind of gives you more of a step-by-step process into how to become a digital nomad.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, that sounds really cool. And I'm actually also an introvert, so I'm fascinated with the with Rob's book as well. So it's presentation tips for introverts?
Yeah. It's this whole weird thing where I can't walk into Starbucks and order a drink without freaking out, but I can stand up in front of hundreds of people and talk, no problem at all. It's just this kind of really weird skill. So I thought I'd sort of try and distill a load of that stuff and help people do it. And I think that was it's the classic mistake that everyone makes, where you write about what you want to write about rather than what people want to read about.
Yeah.
So it's not like we went in and did all the keyword research and went, okay, well, this is a niche where there's a strong demand. We're going to write for this niche and make loads of money. It's
right.
I just kind of feel like I want to write this book. So I did. And it's really nice because occasionally get emails from people saying it was really helpful, and that's awesome. And it is still selling. but it's not the way to do it if you actually want to make Kindle publishing your main source of income. It's more of like a fun sideline for us rather than a really thought through thing.
Yeah.
I think that the sales of all of our books combined could probably, they'd be enough if we wanted to live in Chiang Mai for the rest of our lives. But anywhere else, we couldn't get by doing it the way that we did it.
Yeah, that's the same as me. I also have some Kindle books up there, and I did the same mistake too. Although I didn't expect anything from it, so I wasn't shocked. But I did. I put a book up there on kiteboarding, and there's just nobody's buying books on kiteboarding, so it's not. It's a great book, but it's just not. It's not selling. But I have other books on there that do sell, and like you guys said, I could live in Chiang Mai on that income, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's a really cool model though, because we are notoriously bad at promoting ourselves, and we really love creating stuff, and we hate telling people about it. Okay. So the cool thing with Amazon is you kind of put it up there, and even if you do nothing else, it will sell because it's a search engine used by millions of people a day, all of whom are in buying mode rather than in browsing mode. So that's awesome. And it's a really great business model if you do want to do it more seriously. Like if you're really going to do it properly and be a publisher rather than a writer, you should like do all the research, then hire someone else to write the book. And I know people who do that and do very well from it. It's just like for us, it's like, as it was for you, it's just like you've got a passion, you want to write about that passion, and then it happens as a nice side effect to make some sales.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. And does the Olympics book still sell, or is that kind of faded since the Olympics?
The weirdest thing is it's still selling, and we don't quite understand it because it was from 2012 and everyone knows all the facts anyway. The reviews weren't that great, but it's still selling.
Wow. I think that's the thing. Even if you screw up everything in the biggest way, you'll still be making sales a year later.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's awesome. Even if it's just a tiny bit, it's like you make $20 a month on something. It's like, well, there's your beer money for the month or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So, as far as the location-independent entrepreneurship, what do you think is the hardest thing, and do you think it's easier or harder to travel as a couple versus just a solo entrepreneur? And one thing that attracted me about you two is that you're doing it as a couple, and I think most people think of traditionally the solo digital nomad off on their own.
Yeah, I've got a huge amount of respect for people who do it on their own, because I don't actually know if I'd have had the guts to do it if we hadn't had each other. And so in that respect, it's made it a lot easier, I think.
Yeah, I think for the most part, we probably find it easier being a couple. I mean, we've never done it on our own, so it's really hard to compare. But, you never feel lonely. It's amazing to share your experiences with someone having exactly the same experiences. I think it would feel quite lonely trying to explain what's going on to somebody else back home. It's also really useful for me because I really suck at carrying suitcases up any amount of steps. So I've always got Rob to do that for me. Yeah. But for the most part, I think it's definitely a good thing. The only hard thing is that because we have each other, it means there's less of an incentive to go out and meet new people. But we do make a big effort to do it because we always get so much out of it when we meet other digital nomads in the cities that we're visiting.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And, it's funny. The other thing that I was going to mention is that I wanted to interview somebody that's doing it as a couple. And then I also have some ideas on, there's people that are doing it as a family with kids and all that. A lot of times I'll tell them kind of what I do and how I travel and work and stuff like that. And a lot of the reaction is, oh, well, that's easy for you because it's just you, so you can just pick up and go. And it's like, it's such a common thing. And even I have a friend that has a girlfriend, and he could easily travel as he works, and he loves to travel, but she's got a job and she's in one place, and he goes, oh, well, I could never do that because she can't travel. So
yeah, I guess since we got into this whole thing, the cool thing is we have found people in all situations and at all stages of life who are doing this. Like we kind of had this assumption, I suppose, an unspoken assumption that at some point, if we wanted to have kids, then we'd have to go and settle down somewhere. But then now we know so many people who've got kids and they're moving around way more than we are.
Yeah.
And then there are people who are like in their 40s, 50s, 60s now getting into it, either as a couple or on their own. And there are no limits in that sense. But then the situation, I guess, is difficult where if there's one of you who's kind of got the flexibility to travel and the other has got a career that they really want to follow, then that is tough. And we occasionally hear from people who want to do that. We don't really know what to say because we were so lucky that we both kind of came to this. Wasn't one of us trying to persuade the other. We both kind of came to this realization at the same time.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great that it worked out. So as far as the traveling and working goes, what do you think is the hardest thing and what's the best thing about doing that?
I suppose the best thing, is the freedom. We've got, we pick our own hours. We decide where we want to travel. We decide what we want to do every day. We do have quite a sort of a firm routine and a firm structure. I think you need it if you're working for yourself rather than being stuck in a 9-to-5 being told what to do. So it means that wherever we are in the world, we have quite a strong routine, but we can still mix it up a bit. So if we want to go to visit a new place or a new city just for a day, then we can do. If we want to mix things up in our business, if we want to try something new, then we can do. So that's all really cool.
Yeah, I think once you kind of taste the freedom, you become like really hardcore about it and don't want to compromise, because like when we're working with clients now, we like working for like solopreneurs or really, really small businesses, because then they've got the freedom. Like if we make some recommendations, they get to go, oh yeah, and they get to change things up. Like we can't stand working with companies where like make a suggestion and there's all these layers of bureaucracy to get to. It's just like, that's like a whole alien world now.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, don't even want to get involved with that. It's like, I always struggled in jobs with like the whole having to like show up every day, even if you didn't particularly feel like it.
Right.
And even if you're like sitting there, not actually doing any work, you still had to physically be there. And then I started running my own business and I had staff and all the rest of it. And I thought that would solve the problem because I'd get to be the boss and call the shots and everything else. But that didn't really help because you still have all these obligations and everything else. But now doing things the way we are, it's just like, it's total freedom. Like we control where we are, we control what we do, and we control how much money we make. And that's just awesome. Like the downsides and all the logistical stuff you have to go through is kind of a pain sometimes, but it's just tiny compared to the upside.
And then one of the other upsides is that, oh goodness, I forgot what I was going to say now. Hang on a second. I had a good point to make. No, I'll come back to it.
Yeah. So, one of the things that I was reading on your blog, I think, Rob, you were talking about the idea of accountability and how can you be productive when you're constantly traveling, or even if you're traveling every few months, there's all this uprooting and moving and all that. And how do you stay accountable and keep focused?
Yeah, I have written kind of like a mega post about productivity, which maybe you can link up in the show notes or something, because kind of through just like being an obsessive blog reader, as I'm sure you are, I've just kind of picked up all these bits and pieces and like tried to implement all these techniques to kind of get a crazy amount done each day, because as well as our client work, we've always got all these projects of our own, like got 5 ideas at any one time that we want to be working on. So yeah, we've kind of got all these little tactics, but I guess when it comes to actually working out around the travel, like we figured out that for us, the optimum amount of time to spend in one place is at least a month, because there are some people who stay in one place way longer for like months and months or years, and some people who are traveling like more like backpacker style, like every few days. But we find out that for us, that if we're traveling like every couple of weeks or something, then we're just losing too much time to travel days.
Yeah.
And like people will say that you can work at the airport, you can work in the taxi and everything else, but we've just never really figured that out. It's just like this whole big disruption. But then when we're actually in a place, then we're pretty boring, to be honest. Like our idea of fun is hanging out in cafes, working and people watching and stuff, rather than going off and doing any extreme sports or anything. So we have this whole problem of like, we end up working too much because there's no end. There's never we go, oh, I'm done. That will never occur. So we're just kind of, we just end up working too much. And because we love what we do, it's just like, it's so much easier to kind of like work or kind of semi-work for another 3 hours instead of like shutting the laptop and going and actually seeing the place where we are.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that you said, I think it was in your book, the free ebook that you give away on your site, and I'm forgetting the title. It's How to Be
Short to Being Anywhere. Yeah,
that's right. You said new places equal new ideas, and I really like that because I find also that when I travel and move, rather than just staying in one place, I'm coming up with new ideas because I'm exposed to different people and different places and different scenery. Everything, it sort of gets my mind in that mode, rather than even if I'm staying in a beautiful place for a long period of time, I sort of get used to everything around me and nothing much changes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. That's actually the thing that I forgot to say when I said that there was another benefit.
Nice.
It's definitely the fact that traveling around, we sound really, I hate saying it because I think it sounds sort of a bit, I don't know, pretentious, but it makes you more creative and it gives you more ideas, and that's ideas for your own projects as well as ideas for your clients that makes your work for them even better. And I can't quite work out what it is that makes moving around so helpful to being creative. But it definitely helps, and it gives you new ideas for everything.
It's the whole habituation thing, isn't it? Like you'll just get used to stuff really quickly. And that's why even when we were in New York, we'd move around every few weeks, because however awesome a place is, you just kind of start walking the same paths to get places and seeing the same people in the cafe or whatever. And yeah, I couldn't say why shaking all that up makes a difference to the ideas that you have. But I guess you just get all these random connections happening between things that are triggered by your environment in some way.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it. And like I was living on the beach in San Diego, and I was literally steps from the sand, and pretty awesome place. But I was there for 8.5 months, and it started to get to be just routine. And I'd go to the beach pretty much every day, but it's the same beach, and I just get used to it, and it's part of my routine. But once I get out there, and even taking a 2-week trip, it changes things. And I think part of it is the idea that your brain, when you're traveling and seeing new places, your brain has to process all these new places and new things around you, and so time actually slows down. And when you're kind of in the same place for a while, you don't have to process that much, so there's not as much work going on in the background. So
yeah, definitely. The whole time slowing down thing is just crazy. It's like the first week that we're in a new place, we'll look back and go, we've only been here a week, and it's crazy. But then like the next minute, it's like, oh, we've been here a month now, and it's time to go.
So as far as your traveling goes, do you have any stories, like some really cool things that you've seen, or any really bad travel trips?
No, I think it comes back to the fact that we're really boring. So we don't do any sort of really weird escapades or massive treks or anything like that. We just like sort of wandering around cities, sitting in cafes, checking out some of the major sites, that sort of thing. We've never actually had any really bad experiences. Everything's just kind of been amazing. We've just loved most of the places we've been to. I suppose there have been a couple of cities that we weren't as fond of as we thought we would be, but that's about as bad as it ever got.
Yeah.
We don't try and become too adventurous, so yeah, we tend to get along just fine, and unfortunately that does mean that we've got no real stories.
Well, you're in Berlin now?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you had left for a while and then came back to Berlin, right?
That's right, yeah. We travelled around a few other European cities and then came back because we love Berlin.
Nice. What is it that you love about Berlin?
We're still kind of, I guess, figuring out the criteria that determine whether we're going to like somewhere or not. It's kind of hard to predict, but Berlin is just awesome because it's got so many really cool cafes to work in. It's such an international place. There's always some weird shit going on, which I really like. Kind of got that whole New York thing where it just kind of feels like everyone just gets on and does their own thing with that and no one really cares. It's just a really easy place to be. It's a good place to get stuff done. It's also the kind of place that everyone kind of passes through at some point. So there are so many people who we've met elsewhere in the world, and then we're going to be meeting them again in Berlin because they just have to be passing through for a couple of weeks or something like that. So it's really cool for that whole social aspect as well.
And it's generally just such a friendly city. Everyone is really nice. It definitely helps that everyone speaks English. We're quite useless at German. We're trying. But yeah, everyone's just lovely. Everyone's really helpful. It's just a really nice, laid-back city.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I swung through there, but as a tourist, but didn't spend much time there. Is it pretty cheap to live there, or?
It's not as cheap as it's often made out to be in our experience. It's cheaper than London and New York because everywhere is. Yeah. It's cheaper than some other places in Europe, but it's not crazy cheap. We were just in Budapest a couple of weeks ago, and that really was cheap. I mean, that's like sort of like glass of wine for 50 cents kind of cheap. And if you come to Berlin expecting the same thing, you'll be disappointed. Like by European standards, it's okay, but yeah, especially because we're doing like Airbnb accommodation, so it's all short term. That ends up being kind of expensive because Airbnb prices are kind of pegged to hotels.
Right.
Whereas if you are like renting long term in Berlin, then for like 400 euros a month or something, you can get a really great place. But you need to be like signing a contract for years to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Someone said to me the other day, I heard that Berlin is as cheap as Chiang Mai. Is that true? And no, it's really definitely not true. It's nowhere near. You won't get close to Chiang Mai prices here.
Yeah, I didn't think so, but then I saw some talk in the DC about how, you know, a lot of digital nomads are going to Berlin because it's cheaper. I guess it's all relative. It's cheap compared to some other parts of Europe, but nowhere near the stuff like in Thailand and things like that.
No, definitely not.
So for you two, is there a plan to settle down at all, or do you ever miss the stability of routine, or do you want to just keep this going as long as possible?
I think we want to keep it going as long as possible. When we first started doing it, we kept thinking there was a time limit, like a time when we'd have to go back home and start making babies and stuff like that. But actually, we've realized that we can do it for as long as we want to, especially since seeing so many other digital nomad families. It's really kind of made us realize that there is a different way to have a family and to bring up children, that sort of thing. And we love it so much, and we think it's given us so many great experiences that for now, at least, we just want it to go on and on.
Yeah, you never know if that's going to change. Yeah. But at the moment, it's like, even though most normal people seem to have no issue with living in the same place for decades, it's just like after a few months, you just start going a bit crazy and wanting to go and see someone new. It's a weird addiction.
Yeah, totally. It totally is. So now people that I know they're doing that, they're just living in the same place for a long time. They'll, instead of asking me like, you know, are you going to settle down? They ask me, well, where's your next place? You know, as soon as I get somewhere, they're like, well, where are you going next?
Yeah. It is weird. And there is this kind of, I think I still sometimes have this feeling like we need to kind of rush through places that at some point it's all going to end. But I don't know if that's the case. Like, it just so happens that this lifestyle has only been possible for a relatively small number of years. We're just like right at the start, and that's why you haven't met anyone who's been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
But there's no reason really why you can't keep going for a long time, even with a family or whatever stage of life you're at.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, do you have any tips on how someone could start earning money online so that they can have income while traveling?
Yeah. Again, I kind of wrote a huge post about this, which maybe we could link up to, which kind of take it step by step. But like for us, we think that a service business is the best place to start if you want to replace your income quickly. If that's an important thing to do, I mean, because like depending on like the skill sets that you've got and the network you've got, you might be able to go straight in and like start making the big bucks and replace your income with a couple of clients. For us, that wasn't the case. Like we literally worked our way up via Fiverr.com and via Elance, and like started doing really shitty jobs for not much money, and working our way up until the point now when our day rate is probably like 20 times what it was when we started. But in order to like start making money quickly, that's got to be the way forward. But then like products obviously give you the ultimate freedom, because like if you've got products on sale, like digital products, then you can literally be earning money while you sleep or hike or do whatever you do. And that's like a really, really awesome thing. We kind of knew that early from reading other people's stuff. So we started building products early with the whole Amazon books and stuff like that. And like we're kind of working through the process of like making all the mistakes in that until we get to the point where we like actually really get good at it. But I guess whether you go down the product route or the service route or whatever, you don't want to get too hung up on what business model you go for, because you can always end up having a hybrid business model or transitioning between different ones or whatever. We said earlier, like the best thing to do is to start, but then also it's a good idea to have a platform of some kind, I think, because like when we started making it anywhere, we really just wanted to make friends. Like we were at that point where we didn't know that many other people who were doing what we were doing. all our friends back home had kind of either forgotten that we existed or thought we were crazy, or we just kind of like felt really different from them suddenly. So we just wanted to meet people. But as it happened, it was really useful in getting in front of clients, and we kind of built up an audience, and we've now kind of learning what that audience wants and what their problems are. So we can now base products around that to solve their problem in the future. So it's not like this is how it doesn't help you make money online quickly, but it's something that I'd really recommend, just like having some kind of platform, even if you're not sure what you want to do yet.
Yeah, I'm absolutely in agreement with that. And it's funny because I heard somebody say on a podcast a while ago that if you don't have a monetization plan and you're working towards something, then forget it. Like, don't even bother. But I completely take the opposite approach, where I say go for it. If you have an idea and you just want to kind of plow away with it, if you have the time and you can do it, a lot of things might just come from that. And like what happened with your site, and also even my site, Freedom Lovin', it's like some stuff is coming from it that I didn't expect at all. And I'm not making any money on it, but it's definitely pushing things forward. So
yeah, definitely. I think that if you need to make money straight away, then you definitely need to do something like be on Elance or be on Fiverr, or find a way to make a bit of money on the side. But at the same time, there's nothing stopping you from building up your own platform and getting yourself an audience.
And it's like you say, you just don't know what opportunities are going to come your way. Things will pop up in nice, unexpected ways. And that's the coolest thing. And again, I think it's because we kind of believe in doing something you believe in. Like, we really feel like we're making a difference with the work that we do for people, and we feel like we're like putting out an important message with Making It Anywhere, and we're reaching people and hopefully helping them get over some hurdles. So it's just like doing stuff that you believe in. And if you do that, then for a start, every day is going to be really fun. But also, I think people will sense that, and the right kind of people will gravitate towards you. And if you're not putting anything out there, no one will know that you have these things to offer. You have to put something out there, and then there's no point having too much of a plan, I don't think, because it's not like you're going to be able to perfectly execute exactly what's going to happen months down the line. Stuff just happens.
It is the coolest feeling when we get emails from people who read our blog and we realize that we've got so much in common with them and we like them so much, and then we'll often meet some of them and we get on so well with them. And it's because the way that we write and what we write about, it just attracts people who sort of think the same things and are like us and like doing the same sorts of things as us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually love your blogs too. I love the way you guys write it, and it's really entertaining, even when you're presenting something that is like totally business oriented. So that's really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. So now what's up next for you guys?
Well, we're in Berlin until the beginning of September, so we're going to be here for 2 months in total. Then it's back to London for a month, and then we're going to be going to the West Coast for a while. I'm not quite sure how long we're going to be there for, but then after that we'll probably go back to Thailand at the beginning of next year because we love it there. Work-wise, we're in the middle of revamping our Mortified Cow website. We're also promoting our new book, Be a Digital Nomad. And then we're also actually in the process of creating a members forum and some training videos for people who want to do the same sort of thing as us. Again, that's kind of responding to what our audience on Making It Anywhere was asking us for. Those sorts of things are all our little pet projects. And then we've kind of got, lots of our regular Mortified Cow clients as well.
Sweet. That sounds really cool. Yeah, well, it's been great having you guys on the show. I really love chatting. And again, it's Mish and Rob with makingitanywhere.com, and you can pick up their free ebook on the site, Becoming an Anywhereist, and I highly recommend that. It's been useful. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. I really enjoyed our conversation. I think the show that you've got here is great. Like, I was listening to your conversation with Jeremy Franson earlier, and that was awesome. And I really liked what he was talking about. Is like he was saying how you can go and try and go for ultimate freedom and fight the government and fight the system and all that kind of thing. But there's so much that you can do for yourself first before you get to that point. Right. And far more than the kind of barriers that are put there by other people. It's just like you're limiting yourself so much more than anyone else ever could. And it's a whole kind of process of getting through that. And so I think it's really cool how you're kind of covering freedom in a personal sense, and then also looking at Bitcoin and all the kind of offshore stuff as well. It's all in the same theme, and it's just such an important thing for us. And I think when you start tasting that freedom, you tend to not shut up about it very easily.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and I saw that you had linked a couple of places to one of my favorite bloggers, James Altucher.
Yeah. Just love everything he does.
Yeah, really cool stuff. Well, great. Yeah, I think that's it. Did you have anything else, or?
Don't think so. Just, if anyone wants to get in contact with us, makingitanywhere.com is the blog. We're facebook.com/makingitanywhere, and we're on Twitter as Anywhereists. So just say hello.
We're also on Google Plus, but we're useless with Google Plus, so we won't mention that one.
Don't say hello on that.
Yeah, so am I. I have an account, but never go there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool. Well, thanks again, guys, for coming on the show, and good luck with everything.
Thank you. Great to chat with you.
Thank you for having us.
For sure.